On your feet! Get them going!
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Cross Examinations Live. I'm your host, Mike S. Miller. Today, we are going into Romans 2 later on, but right now we're going to start off by analyzing Alex O'Connor. So Alex is a young guy, and I was wondering, because we were having this conversation yesterday about atheists versus agnostics, those who claim to be atheists, those who deny God. And I know there's nuance to people's particular definitions, but I'm going kind of old school with my understanding. I was raised agnostic, as I said yesterday. And I've probably said on every episode for years. But agnostics generally, it's like someone who says, well, I'm a reasonable person. I can't say. My dad used to say, I used to ask him, why aren't we atheist? And he would say, because we don't know everything. He's like, God could be hiding behind a moon on Jupiter and not showing himself to us. So as a logical engineer-minded kind of guy, he's like, I can't say there's no God. I don't know if there's no God. So I just say I cannot know if there's a God. Therefore, I'm an agnostic. It's not I don't believe, or I neither believe nor don't believe in God. I just don't know. And that's a reasonable take. Atheism, declaratively saying there is no God, and you're saying it because it is your belief. You're not saying it as like, when you say that, you're stating a belief. This muddy middle ground people get into, which is, it kind of irritates me, but whatever. Right. Agnosticism is a statement of knowledge. Atheism is a statement of belief. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's this muddy. I don't even know how to describe it. But anyways, I don't want to get hung up on that, the whole definitional thing. You can call yourself whatever you want. But Alex is very specific about calling himself an atheist. And as I posited yesterday, those 90% or more of the time who, rather than use agnostic, if they know what agnostic means, instead they use atheist, they're mad at God. And so I didn't know anything about Alex's background, but and usually, like I said, 9 times out of 10, these are Christians or Catholics in some case, who rejected God because something bad happened in their youth. So wouldn't you know, I went and I researched Alex's past. Guess what? He was raised Catholic. His parents got divorced when he was 9. His mother got cancer in his early teens. And by 14, he had stated that he was contemplating atheism. Spectre says, Catholics are Christians. I say that too, but most of my Catholic friends, they call themselves Catholics and call me a Christian. So they're the ones that draw the line. I think Catholicism is a denomination of Christianity, but they call themselves Catholic. And maybe you don't. But it's not a dividing line I drew. Gnostic atheists have the same branch of proof as Gnostic theists. Okay, I'm not versed on the Gnosticism thing. I know some people who call themselves Catholic Christians. Spectre says, they call you Christian because you still believe Christ, but don't hold the Catholic teachings, and they call themselves Catholic. So, this is not a issue to get stuck on while we're talking about atheists. Rain says, I knew a pastor, welcome back, Rain, by the way. I knew a pastor that would preach that atheists were Satan worshipping baby unalivers that were actively doing witchcraft to cast curses. Well, that's a new one. I've never heard any pastor. Then again, I don't go to crazy churches. I know there are some kind of wackadoodle churches out there. I've seen some of them on TV or on YouTube clips. So I don't doubt your experience, Rain. Just go to a different church, buddy. Pureblood said, the fool hath said in his heart there is no God. Doth most evidently declare that there is not a more miserable condition on the earth than that of atheists. Well, yes and no. They have deluded themselves into thinking what they think. Or again, Alex O'Connor seems to fit the perfect bill of the atheist. Was a Christian, raised Catholic, was even a choir boy. Personal tragedy, both divorce and mother getting cancer in his, what do you call those developing years? 9 to 14 in age. This whole situation happened. And because I would posit, because it's so ubiquitous among atheists that they go from Catholic, or they go from Christian to personal tragedy to atheism. Alex O'Connor, Catholic, choir boy, parents divorce, mother cancer, atheism. I mean, there's a pattern here that I see all the flipping time. And let's just say it did not shock me to discover that he fit the bill as well. So it is a gross generalization. Absolutely. Is a terminator that isn't truer of most Christians. Is a thought term. Oh, is a thought. I'm sorry. I didn't read that correctly. Your gross generalization of atheist is a thought terminator that isn't truer of most Christians. I don't understand the that isn't truer of most Christians part of your statement. What are those symbols behind you on the wall? Just Snoopy. I don't know. It's a Japanese classroom. Oh, there's Godzilla. I never noticed the Godzilla. That's cool. I goofed, meant atheist there. Most that isn't true of most atheists? Is that what you're saying? It's been my personal experience, and I have dealt with debating atheists and knowing a lot of atheists for the last 30 years, and I'm just telling you, 9 times out of 10, this is the situation. I've got very good friends, and I know their personal stories, and that's very much why they became atheists. One of my friends, Jim, his mom died. He was a good Christian boy. Mom died when he was 10, I think. And yeah, I think he and his brother both became atheists. Yeah, atheists are as nuanced as anyone else. I'm sure there are some. I'm just telling you the majority. Okay, maybe I haven't done like a poll of all the atheists in the world. I'm giving you my personal experience. You can disagree, but why don't you go ask your atheist friends, how were you raised? What religion were you? And did you have any personal tragedy happen to you in your prevailing years? I mean, there's this guy, Lou the Skeptic, that used to come on this channel quite often, and listening to him talk, I can very much guarantee you, because he used to be a Christian, and then something happened, and then he rejected that, and now he's a YouTube atheist out there trying to spread the good word that life has no meaning. Because why else other than an emotional need that misery loves company, would you as an atheist proselytize atheism. That is an emotional desire to bring other people to your way of thinking, right? It makes sense if you're a religious person and you're trying to save people's souls, right? Other than just being the type of person who just really loves to argue and prove himself to be right and is very egotistical, what is the motivation for an atheist to proselytize a non-belief? What's the... Maybe I haven't thought deeply about this, but I'd like to know, what is the motivation there? I don't know. I'm going to share this video here. Boop. This is not from the previous one, but I was watching this a little bit earlier. So the problem of... Well, let's listen to Alex.
That is to say, maybe if God does exist and does make his existence apparent to everybody, there are some people who simply won't accept it, even if it's obvious.
I like that he admits this, because that is him, but he doesn't admit that it's him, which is the funny part.
To them. Now, this would be an example of unreasonable disbelief in God, because you're given enough reason to believe in God, but you still reject him anyway. This, I think everybody would agree, is unreasonable and wouldn't be a problem for Christianity. If it were the case that God really did give us enough evidence of his existence and people rejected that evidence in an unreasonable fashion.
If there wasn't enough evidence, Christianity simply would not exist. Because Christianity started from evidence, right? The people who wrote the New Testament died because they claimed to have witnessed. They were eyewitnesses to an account, and because they refused to recant that, they were tortured and killed. They were canceled before that, right? Up till before 66 AD, they were simply canceled out of their Jewish society. Just like, you're living in America and you're like a Trump supporter, Trump supporter. You go to your work, you see this a lot. Okay, this is a good case in point. You see this a lot in Hollywood. You'll hear from people and they'll be like, I know a lot of actors, directors, producers and stuff who are full-on Trump supporters, but won't ever say it because they're afraid of getting canceled in Hollywood, because Hollywood is so left-wing. Hollywood is Jerusalem, right? And it's run by... Oh my gosh, this is going to be a terrible... All right, I'm not going to use this comparison. First of all, I'm not anti-Semitic. My wife is Jewish, so I can't... I'll just use this. Hollywood is run by Jews. I'm not saying that in the same sense that you're probably saying I'm saying it. I'm just saying that it's like Jerusalem was run by Jews in 2,000 years ago. Hollywood is run by Jews today. But this isn't this... Oh gosh, this is getting so off topic. Just coming out as right wing in a place that's super, super left wing, right? You get canceled. You won't be able to get work, except for in ancient Jerusalem, it's work. You not only can you not get work, you can't buy or sell. Nobody's going to sell you nothing because they know you're a Christian. You're not allowed to go to groups. Your friends will reject you. Your rabbi will reject you. The synagogue will reject you. You will be cast out of society for being a Christian. And yet, and this is all before 66 AD, so this is all happening prior to Nero making Christianity a literal death sentence, which just added to the persecution. But prior to that, for the first 3 decades after Christ, all of these people who were willing to become Christians were because of evidence. This is a historical reality. You cannot just dismiss and say, oh, if there was only enough evidence, then you would have the blah, 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 blah. It's like baloney. If it wasn't for evidence and eyewitnesses and people seeing Christ rise from the dead and walk among them for 40 days at one time before 500 people at once. He had a concert after he came back from the dead. If it wasn't for all of this evidence, Christianity simply would not exist. Nobody is willing to be cast out of society for a lie. And this is, again, within this happened throughout the 3 decades prior to the Roman persecution. So all of that cancellation, all of that, like you're in Canada, was run by socialist crazy people, and you're a Trump supporter. You know, people spit on you. They'll key your car. They'll kick you out of their stores. Whatever. You were absolutely, except it was actually worse, because it was actually the synagogue had way more power in ancient Judea. So that you would be willing to have your life turned upside down, lose your living, probably lose your home, lose any status you may have had, make it practically. That's why they were like, quote unquote, socialists in the beginning, because when people got kicked out of society in the beginning of Christianity, they talk about how everybody sold their stuff so that they could share amongst the Christians, because they had nothing. They had been kicked out of society. They were canceled, like in a worse way than any American has been canceled ever. Anyone who said, yeah, I saw Christ alive afterwards, and therefore I believe he's the Messiah. They didn't say they weren't Jews anymore. They said they believed that Christ was Messiah, and saying that Christ was Messiah got you kicked out. That is evidence enough that started this wildfire that we call Christianity, that eventually overcame, in Paul's letters, one of his greatest evidences that all of this stuff happened, is he said, a bunch of these people are still alive. If you don't believe me, go ask around. Go ask the other people that saw Christ walking around alive after he was publicly executed. Don't tell me there's no evidence. It's simply that you are rejecting the evidence. And that is not a rational position to take. That is an emotional position to take. But that isn't really impressive, because Jesus taught that followers should sell all their belongings. I'm not talking about being impressive. I'm talking about it being evidence.
Then that's not God's fault. That would be our fault. However, there does seem to be this other category of disbelief called reasonable disbelief. It's sometimes also called non-resistant non-belief. That is, somebody isn't convinced by evidence, doesn't believe in God's existence, not because they're being unreasonable or rejecting what should be sufficient evidence.
Yeah, everyone would like to think that that is the case when they reject what is clearly historical evidence. But I think that's a little bit of hubris. Right? You're like denying everything that happened in the first century, essentially. You're like pretending that history didn't happen, and that somehow Christianity just spread through what would the mechanism be to convince hundreds and then thousands and then tens of thousands of people to go to their deaths, who were within the generation that watched Christ resurrect? How do you just brush over that? There is no the fact that Christianity exists proves that that is the historical evidence. We aren't ascribing any magic to it. Then explain it, dude. You can't explain it. It's like ignoring that there's only 250,000 fossil species when there should be trillions.
But genuinely, honestly, they're just not convinced. Maybe this is...
And I'm not saying he's being disingenuous here. I think he truly does believe this of himself. But it is delusional.
Is the kind of person who actually wants to believe in God. I would count myself among that category. I think it would be fantastic if Christianity were true, if there were a God who really loved us and really did die for our sins. I think that would be wonderful for me.
Well, then go back and reread everything that happened in the first century, buddy. It's the funniest thing about him, because he does believe all that the apostles did witness all this stuff. He believes the apostles did believe that Christ came. So how do you believe that the eyewitnesses believed that Christ came back from the dead and that they died for that belief, and then out of the same mouth say, but there's no evidence that Christ came back from the dead? What's the disconnect there except emotion? Again, he fits the same bill that I say, okay, I won't say 90% anymore, because apparently a few atheists are complaining about me saying, but a vast majority of the atheists that I've met, they went from Christian through some personal tragedy where God did not answer their prayer. I say it all the time. It's like one of them is divorce. His parents got divorced when he was 9, which in Catholicism is even worse. You're not allowed to get divorced in Catholicism. So that's an even greater kick in the nuts of his faith. I'm not going to put faith in quotes, in his, the way he was raised. And then his mom got cancer. So, and then he started saying, oh, maybe there's no God. That's an emotional reaction, because clearly, yeah, there's some disconnect in his own mind where he accepts all these things are eyewitnesses. He accepts what they said. He accepts that they believed what they said, but he doesn't accept that that actually happened. Who's the better witness to what happened? The eyewitnesses that you already accept, or your 2,000 years later emotion-based rejection of their? And that's where he doesn't even reject that they're witnesses. That's what boggles my mind. It's like such a clear mental disconnect, and he doesn't see it because, again, I think this is just all emotion for him. And I think it is for most atheists. Not saying all you atheists in the chat are like that. I'm just saying most atheists I've met very much like that.
But I just don't believe that it's the case. Now, I'm presented with evidence, and I don't find it convincing. I don't think I'm being unreasonable here. I think that I would fall into this category of reasonable disbelief, or at the very least, non-resistant non-belief. And this is the kind of position.
See, even like these guys in the chat who are saying there's no evidence, you guys probably don't believe that in the testimony of the Bible. That's just the weirdest thing with him, is like he's like this huge YouTube atheist, and he has said he believes it, but then says he doesn't believe it. I'm going to try to find the clip where I've seen some of his debates. I'm going to try to find the clip where he says that he does believe. He believes the Bible. I mean, it's very confusing to me. Very, very confusing. All right, let's see.
Lord Megatron says, no one states the universe exploded from nothing. The Big Bang Theory states the universe expanded from a singularity.
Lord Megatron, I would like you to meditate on those two sentences. Is it rational to say that all of the matter and energy in the universe were compressed into the head of a pin? And at that point, what's the difference between that and literally nothing? They say a singularity because they can't get to a point in their minds that there was nothing prior to the singularity. But that does not rule out that it was nothing. As you say, they have the intellectual honesty to say we don't know. But that we don't know should also include the nothing. All right? That's the rational position to take. So, in the blink of an eye, it did explode. Whether it's a singularity or it was nothing, and then the point of beginning would be a singularity. It did quite literally explode at speeds far beyond anything comprehensible. There's this theory that that at the center point of the universe, where the singularity would be, time is 0. There's still no time there at the 0 point, and that at the edge of the universe, it's 18 billion years old, something like that. Because the further out you get, the faster time has to go to I can't remember how it's phrased. It's like it's speeding away faster and faster. It's just increasing in speed as it goes away. So it's increasing in speed, in mass, in time as it goes away from the singularity. And so there are zones in the universe of like if you're a little bit away from the singularity, time is like 1 second old. And then a little further, you're like 5 minutes old. And then a little further, you're like 1,000 years old, right? And then at the edge, you're 18 billion years old, or however. We probably haven't even found the edge. It's probably like gazillions a year, whatever. Tina says, please don't forget to show Mike some love and give the stream a like, subscribe, and share it out. Thank you very much. Pure Blood says, some principles of religion, as of other virtues, are inbred and natural to us, though much defaced and depraved by human corruption. Happy Fruit says, every point in the universe would be the center. There isn't an edge. Okay, is this a new theory? Every point is the center. This is all theoretical, dude. No, I know exactly how the universe works. Bro, we live on a speck of sand floating in an ocean called the universe. People who think they understand everything about the universe are freaking retarded. Or the most arrogant, hubristic bullcrap artists ever. It's like, bro, our perspective is so limited as to what the universe contains. It's ridiculous. Like, no, I know exactly how the universe works because I have a telescope from a speck of dust floating. Going, by the way, if scientific calculations are correct, moving at the speed of about 1/24th the speed of light around the universe, which is a whole different ball of wax. But the universe was just as infinitely massive as it is now. Space is just expanding. Oh, is this a new theory? Is that why they're running away from the Big Bang? Because the Big Bang showed that the universe did indeed have a beginning, and they can't have that because that's what the Bible says, and you can't prove the Bible to be correct. Let's see. Zach says, DJ, I'm learning it's less about working out. What are you talking about? Exercise in my chat. Funny how these Christians are trying to argue against science because it says nothing about their imaginary friend. I don't understand your point. Science, literally, the science was invented because Christians wanted to understand the creation. So, yeah. Let's give you that. Big Bang is wrong. Does that mean your God is real by default? No, I'm not saying that. I mean, I am saying God is real by default, regardless what your argument is, but whether or not Big Bang is wrong doesn't change anything. No, I'm not pushing the God of the gaps. You know, both atheists and theists use science. Yes, I know. It was started by theists. All of the early great scientists were Christians. Or, actually, I think there were some Muslims too. Godless Granny says, if there was a God that wanted you to understand the universe, would he not make you able to understand more? Yeah, but we have very, very limited information from our perspective on a speck of dust floating through an ocean of the universe. It's like literally saying an amoeba could understand how Washington, D.C. works. An amoeba at the bottom of the ocean. You know, it's a perspective thing. How there's a limited amount of information we can gather from this ball of rock circling around the sun. I don't understand how that's hard to understand. It's not that if we had all the information, we wouldn't be able to understand it. It's just that we can only understand how much information we are given. We can theorize and speculate on, you know, a whole lot of stuff. But people who claim they have absolute knowledge of this stuff, it's fine. Just understand that you just believe it. And it's fine if you believe it. But, you know, don't rest your eternal soul on it, I guess. I mean, don't bet everything you have on it, because science has this annoying habit of proving itself wrong. And then all the stuff you've learned that you were so certain about, and that you would argue to no end, science can turn that around. Or if science is being done right. Here's the thing. I said this story a couple of days ago. I was reading an issue of Scientific American back in 1997, and this astronomer had discovered 2 Jovian class planets circling around a sun every 24 hours. And the interviewer asked the astronomer what that meant for our understanding of of planetary evolution, and the astronomer said it destroys it. It destroys the theory that we currently teach on planetary evolution. And the interviewer said, well, what are we going to do? And he said, oh, we'll just come up with another theory. And then we'll teach that as fact to our children, because that's the thing. It's like you go to, you know, astronomy. I took astronomy in college, and it's like they don't teach this stuff as theory. They teach all this stuff as this is what we know. No, it's not. It's all theory. And they might be good theories. But then 2 Jovian planets show up spinning around a sun and demolish your theory. But the theory is so ingrained that they're still teaching that theory almost 30 years later to your kids. Well, probably not to your kids. Well, yeah, they do. Planetary evolution was in science class in high school. They're still teaching it. So clearly they didn't come up with a better theory. So what did they do? They just kind of ignored that thing that destroyed that theory. And I honestly don't care. But you should. If you're so stuck on all of these things that you're learning in your science books, and you're saying, and you're stuck on them being true, they're theories. Don't get super hung up and faithful about some guy in a white lab coat coming up with a theory and putting it in a book, and then you trust that it's the truth. You're using the word theory wrong. I'm not. The scientific theory is the body effects of the third. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, and the theory of planetary evolution was destroyed by a single objective fact, but they still teach it, and you still think it's true. What are you going to do about that? You can't verify, observe, and test history or the evolution of planets because you can't see it happening in real time. You can look at things and say, oh, these things must be place things in order, and you think they are in order because they look kind of like they're in order, but that doesn't mean that is the order. That is theoretical. I'm discovering more and more how much of an island I exist on compared to your normal audience, Mike. No wonder I'm so unpopular. You can. Oh, really? How many millions or billions of years does it take to form a planet? And tell me how you're going to observe that in your 80 years of life here on Earth. What's it been? When did Voyager go out? How Voyager doesn't even have that great of a reach. Is Voyager even outside of our solar system yet? Man, they launched that thing like in the 70s, didn't they? Is it even out of the solar system yet? I think it is, right? I think that was news a few years ago. There's no scientific theory definition and colloquial theory definition. There's only one definition, right? Spectre says there's math for that. It was the discovery of redshift was the strongest support of the theory of cosmic expansion. Okay, the theory of cosmic expansion and the theory of planetary evolution aren't the same thing. As we learn about evolution, our gods are becoming more about relationships, feelings, and personal strength. They have a personal relationship with Jesus who gives them hope and strength. Well, that comes from the Bible. That doesn't come from evolution. What? Mike, will you call the line when either Dalahunty or Forrest Valkai are on? I have no idea what those words are. I'm sure they're people. I've never heard of either of them. Voyager has left the solar system. Yeah, that wasn't that long ago, right? Was that like 10 years ago or something? Maybe. I'm 53, so I have a lot of history. Be honest in your debating. Ooh, what did Godless Granny say? Hello, Tina. No, sorry. Okay, Lord Benkatron. Donkeys don't really talk, mate. Bushes aren't capable of conversation, nor are serpents. Men don't really walk on water. I see you don't understand what a miracle is. See, a miracle is when something outside of the norms of physics or the rules that govern the universe take place because God intervenes. And as God wrote the rules, he can bend the rules as much as he likes. You can go and you can just discount miracles. That's fine. You don't have to believe anything, Lord. I'm not. I would love if you became a Christian, but I'm not twisting your arm. Again, I'm more than happy to jump into a call and explain all this to you, starting with evolution. Oh, snap. It's 12:39. What time should I? I'll go a little bit longer. If these preposterously childish claims didn't come to you via religion, you dismiss them as the fairy tales they are. I was raised agnostic, buddy. So, yeah. No, I understand. Voyager left in 2013, so 12 years. 12 years. Can a monkey given a typewriter and paper and type a thesis? No, you've already asked that. You asked that question the other day. This is the distinction Dawkins makes as a biologist when he says nothing has a different definition for a physicist than the colloquial phrase meaning nothing was there. Yeah. I remember that. Because it's literally the argument. Nothing exploded and became everything. Even if you're saying the head of a pin exploded and became everything, it's just as stupid. Stupid in the sense that I don't disagree that the universe started from and then expanded out. I mean, the math's there for that, right? Except for apparently for the new people who say no, the universe has always been. See, that's what we thought for a long time. That's why I said yesterday, Joseph Smith actually in the Book of Mormon, he wrote that the universe is eternal because that was the accepted scientific modus operandi of the time, right? For I don't know how long until the Big Bang. They did the math on the Big Bang, and they wound the clock back. And yes, in fact, Dillahunty is the guy who denies his mind. Forrest is an atheist mythological cheerleader. Interesting. Thank you, Craig, and welcome. Welcome, everyone. If you're new to the channel, please do like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. We do this every weekday. Okay, Tina. Yeah, okay, we already did that. There's absolutely a distinction in scientific lexicons. Lavore says, Mike, The Line is a show Matt Dillahunty hosts it sometimes, as so does Forrest Valkai. They take calls from theists, deists, atheists, and everything in between. They prioritize theists, though. I'll have to watch some of their stuff because there's some of these guys. Like I've been watching, what's his Justin from Deconstruction Zone, and it's like, yeah, he's always taking on theists, but his method of debate, it doesn't allow for an honest debate because he will just verbally it's like verbal diarrhea on you. It's like he's very, very well versed in scripture. I think he probably has a photographic memory. I'd like to see him debate someone like Sam Shamoon, who also has extremely good recall. I don't. And so, I mean, he might whip something. I'm more, I'm not a pastor, priest, rabbi, blah, 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 right? I'm just a guy who's gone through the Bible. I grew up agnostic, became a Christian, and I sort of forged my way through whether or not all these questions could be answered by jumping on the old AOL message boards, the atheist message boards back in 1995, 96. And I spent like 8 hours a day just debating this stuff. And every time somebody asked me a question, I would go and I would research if there was a rational answer. Because I'm like my dad. My dad was an agnostic, but he's an engineer, and he had this just very an answer has to hold water. And I know there are answers that don't. It's just like you're just waving your hands. Kid at my Bible studies calls it waving your hands. Right? It's like, what's the answer to this? Oh yeah. I was very determined to make sure that every answer I gave was rational. And so I would go, if I didn't know the answer, I would just go spend time, because that was a great thing about message boards is you didn't have to have everything memorized and just come right back because you're on a live debate and blah, blah, blah. You could simply go research the answer. And if the first answer you read just didn't hold water, you go see what somebody else has to say. And if that doesn't, you go see what somebody else has to say. And then when you find one that you're like, well, that makes sense, then you can return to the discussion with the rational answer. And again, I came to this from an agnostic position, so I was an atheist. I wasn't like bound and determined not to believe. I didn't believe, but I didn't really care. What is that? Apatheist? I guess you could say I was an apatheist, which is a new word for me, but I heard you guys discussing it, or I saw you guys discussing it. Megatron says, so many theists also believe in evolution, just a small minority who knows nothing about science. Oh, I very much also believed in evolution. I was raised agnostic. I believed in evolution. When I became a Christian, I also believed in evolution. I was a theistic evolutionist, as you're pointing out, theists who believe in evolution. But that gave me the ability to look over the arguments without a dog in the fight. It didn't matter to me whether or not evolution was true at that point. I believe the Bible was true regardless, but I still believed evolution was true. But now I had the open mind to look at the evidence and say, does the argument for evolution hold water in light of the actual physical, factual evidence that we have, or is it all based on a you know, a mountain of cards that are just theoretical and conjectural, which is the case. Mostly stupid people think evolution is false. That's a very open-minded position for you to take, Lord Megatron. Deconstruction zone. Yeah, that's the guy. All belief being a form of ignorance. If you have to believe something, then you don't know. Oh, I'm not going to get into the nuance of what you think you know and what you think you believe. Right? I mean, heck, this whole thing could be a hologram, right? That's actually a running theory that the whole universe is a hologram, and it's all because they found, like, what was it? I just saw this recently, like in the very, very subatomic quarks and whatever, they found code, like the electro or the subatomic particles are written in code or some. I'd have to go back and find that again, but I thought, okay, this kind of stuff is why some of these people are claiming that the universe is a hologram, which, you know, I don't know. Are we in the Matrix? I don't know. I mean, I know what I believe. I believe this is real. I believe this microphone is here, right? But as to absolute knowledge, are we in a hologram? I don't believe we are, but is it possible that I'm wrong? It is within the realm of possibility, which is crazy, which seems crazy. And if I said that's what I believed instead, I would think that I was crazy. But what if I'm wrong? All right. Lord Megatron, bro, I'm not gonna do the whole evolution thing again today. I did it yesterday, and I got to get to the Bible study part of this show. But do you know that dinosaur soft tissue is a regularly found thing these days? They break open these fossils and they find blood cells and soft tissue and bone marrow. You know why that's crazy? Because first of all, you can't even carbon date something that's older than 50,000 years old, right? According to carbon dating. You can carbon date soft tissue. Just the fact that you can carbon date soft tissue means that it's younger than 50,000 years old. And point of fact, if it was millions of years old, the very scientist who discovered the first soft tissue in a T-Rex bone in the 80s, I think, maybe early 90s, she very much said this shouldn't exist because it would have disintegrated on a molecular level. Did you know that there was soft tissue, Megatron? And let me ask you that. Did you know there was dinosaur soft tissue and that we find it quite often? We find it probably more often than we find quote unquote new species in the fossil record. I'm gonna scroll down to see if he does know. Or if he thinks I'm lying, which if he goes and he looks up the Scientific American, oh no, it's the Smithsonian article on this topic, which didn't really make like headline news. Headline news: we found soft tissue from dinosaurs. How's that possible if they're 100 million years old? Oh, it's not? So we have what is called an absolute fact that you can look at in your hand under a microscope, touch, feel, and realize this is actual soft tissue that cannot be, at a minimum, it cannot be older than 50,000 years old. What does that do to your theory that dinosaurs are hundreds of millions of years old and died out 60 million years ago? What does it do to that theory? Oh, okay, we just won't mention it anymore. We won't talk about the soft tissue because clearly the soft tissue can't exist, even though it does. But our theory says it can't. But it does. What are you going to do about that? I noticed you haven't answered me. Wow, he was all over this thing a minute ago. What happened, Lord Megatron? Where'd you go? Are you Googling dinosaur soft tissue? And the reality that it's true is just breaking your brain right now because you're bound and determined to believe in evolution? It's not just the blood in the T-Rex rain. They've found all kinds of dinosaur soft tissues since then, since that first discovery. Why not bring it up and look at counter arguments? Because counter arguments are excuses. Oh, there was iron. There was iron in the soil, and so the iron somehow or another kept it soft for 100 million years. Bull crap. That's so ludicrous on its face. But because you have to believe in evolution, you have to believe this ludicrous excuse. See, this is the separation of reasonable. I'm not strawmanning it. It's ridiculous. And it's not possible. It's ludicrous. It is ludicrous. And anybody who would have told you that, see, you have to believe it because your worldview requires those ridiculous excuses to be true. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get into the Bible because it's already 52 minutes in. That's right. I do not believe in evolution. Please talk with a biologist. Is a biologist going to tell me that you can carbon date something that's older than 50,000 years old? Which experts say there is iron in the soil, and that is the reason there is soft tissue? That was the excuse that I could be getting that slightly wrong, but that was the excuse. There's like a high iron concentration, and so because there was high iron, somehow it retained its elasticity for hundreds of millions of years or whatever. It's absolutely ridiculous. Ravi says, you don't know what you're talking about. Having never studied doesn't make you an expert. Okay. You guys just deal with the fact that there is soft tissue in dinosaur bones. Bones. Not fossils, because they're bones. I mean, there are fossils, but there are also bones. But there can't be bones if they're 100 million years old, right? Oh, weird. Oh, weird. It's funny how the inconvenient comments seem to be invisible. I don't know. I'm watching on StreamYard, so I see everything. Guys, mods, you're not like hiding comments, are you? Mods, don't hide comments. Sounds like you have closed your mind to the possibilities. No, I've just been through it all. I've been through it all already. So, all right, let's see. Actually, I have to stop screen sharing right quick. Switch over to KingJamesBlaBlaBla.org. It wasn't elastic when found. Lucifer, that was just only one. There, look up all of them. They found T-Rex, duck-billed platypus. What else? They found they got the soft tissue, I think, from the like the uterus or something of something like that. It's long. Soft tissue is not news to me. Well, clearly it was to Megatron because he disappeared. after I asked him. And it's news to almost every evolutionist that I talk to, because wow, how come that's not big news? Ask you that. I remember when Archaeopteryx was all over like CNN and NBC and everything in the early 80s. I don't know why, if it was discovered like a century before, but present, share screen. All right, let's do this then. We are currently in Romans chapter 2. Chapter 2. Let's bump this up. Oh, I don't want verse. I just want the bloody word. Oh my gosh, just go to the thing. Romans chapter 2. There we go. All right. Eric Smith says, oh goodness, he reads the King James Version. You realize that the intention of the King James Version no longer applies to modern English, right? It's no longer vernacular English. It's been for 100 years. I know, Eric. But I quite like the way it reads, all right? You got a problem with that? It's still a very much a word for word, even though, yes, it is anachronistic. Or not anachronistic. It's out of date. But I like the way it reads. I'm not KJV only. I like it. I like it. If you don't like it, okay. Because it coincides with the model. Just because scientists say there can't be soft tissue doesn't make it true. The science has become more accurate and precise. Oh, really, Rain? Then how come they won't carbon date it? Or are you gonna tell me now that carbon dating is wrong? Because you absolutely can carbon date soft tissue. But they won't carbon date soft tissue because you can't carbon date soft tissue if it's, you can't carbon date something that's over 50,000 years old. But you can carbon date soft tissue. I don't think that is right. I don't think it's anachronistic because it was written in the time it was written. Right? What is anachronistic would be the Book of Mormon, because it's written in 15th, 16th century English, but it was written in 19th century America. So that he wrote that in an anachronistic. See, it's out of the time in which it was supposed to be written. Yes, I have a problem with that. The intractability of the text enables misunderstandings, deliberate or otherwise. You're adding another layer of interpretation between yourself and the text. Well, don't listen then. What do you want from me, man? It describes people standing in stirrups before stirrups were invented. How do you know who invented stirrups? I'm not aware of anyone advocating that the soft tissue shouldn't be dated. Besides, carbon dating is not the only radiometric dating technique we have. No, but when you go ahead and carbon date that soft tissue, and which they probably won't because they don't want to destroy it, and you have to destroy it to carbon date it, they would discover that it is considerably less than 50,000 years old. And then what are you going to do when you have a dinosaur that is less than 50,000 years old? And then ask yourself, why dragons? This is something that Carl Sagan even had. Carl Sagan had to come up with this excuse of why every culture on Earth is familiar with dragons. And he comes up with this, well, we've got this genetic... Oh, he doesn't sound like that, does he? Carl Sagan... I can try to remember Carl Sagan's voice. He's like, oh, it's genetic memory. When we were tiny little marsupials being chased by dinosaurs, that genetic memory lodged into the back of our subconscious, and then all of the cultures on Earth. remembered it and then drew pictures of it and made carvings of it and put it on their zodiac and then as far as the 1800s started talking about how they were hunting them because they were stealing the sheep in Scotland, so they had to hunt down these flying lizards. It's like, bro, there's so much you guys don't know because you none of this stuff was ever taught. It's crazy. It's crazy. You need to open your mind. Open your mind and do the research into all the arguments against evolution, even if it's just for fun. It's a lot of stuff that adds up to, yeah, evolution just does not add up. That is a supposition. Just because something hasn't been done doesn't mean the reason is they are afraid of the results. Fair enough. I gave you some homework in the Discord. Many cultures have dragon, which are not very similar at all to each other. Yes. How many different dinosaurs are there? It's almost as if you would think there would be different descriptions of dragons because there are different kinds of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, by the way, a word that is only like 200 years old. Actually, less than that, isn't it? What was it, 1860s? I think they came up with the word dinosaurs. And earlier dictionaries, like the 1800s dictionaries and stuff, you look up dragon, it says a creature that is rarely seen. Not a creature that doesn't exist, not a creature that's fantasy. It's a creature that is rarely seen because we've been wiping them out. And that is a history that is pretty much in every culture on Earth. And that's why Carl Sagan had to come up with this malarkey about genetic memory. Fits right in place with Bible, though, the biblical account of creation. Funny that. Loads, but none of the dragons coincide with the dinosaurs found in those areas. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, Spectre. You know this as well as anyone. Even the art of St. George killing a dragon is him stabbing a monitor lizard. I don't think it's a monitor lizard. Also, monitor lizards in... Oh, wait. Was St. George in Turkey? I don't remember. Maybe there were. Who knows? Maybe it was. Okay, I got to get to the Bible. Sorry, guys. Let me get through this, and if I have more time, we can cut in later. Romans chapter 2. Therefore thou art inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art that judgest. For wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself. For thou that judgest dost the same things. Hypocrite! That's what this is all about. But we are sure that the judgment of God is according to truth against them which commit such things. And thinkest thou this, O man, that judgest them who do such things, and dost the same, that thou shalt escape the judgment of God? That's pretty. I don't need to explain this stuff. It's so just clear. Or despisest thou the riches of his goodness and forbearance and long suffering, not knowing that the goodness of God leadeth thee to repentance? But after thy hardness and impenitent heart treasurest up thou unto thyself wrath against the day of wrath and revelation of the righteous judgment of God, who will render to every man according to his deeds. To them who by patient continuance in well-doing seek for glory and honor and immortality, eternal life. That's kind of a interesting and cool way to put it. It's, if you'll get eternal life, if by patient continuance, that is in diligent, always moving towards these goals, seeking for glory, honor, and immortality. That sounds like straight out of Gladiator. What we do in life echoes in eternity. But unto them that are contentious, and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation, and wrath, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first, and also of the Gentile. But glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile. For there is no respect of persons with God. For as many as have sinned without the law shall also perish without the law. And as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves. So this is the argument that Alex didn't continue reading to this point in his Romans 2 argument the other day. It doesn't matter if you, it does matter, but everyone around the world will be judged based on their response to the information they're given. If you are given the, I'm sorry, hold on a second. One way to say it is you'll be judged by the light you are given. I don't know why my voice is like this today. So if you're some guy in Guyana who's never been exposed to Christianity, Judaism, any portion of what we would call our religion, if they have not the law, but they do by nature the things contained in the law, they, without the law, are a law unto themselves. So the law they keep for themselves, what they judge by conscience, by God-given conscience, right? We do all have a God-given conscience. And they do the things that they know are right by their conscience. They will be judged because they are a law unto themselves. So God, no one is going to come before God in the day of judgment and be like, but I didn't know. Because you're not, it's God. First of all, Jesus does forgive ignorance and repentance. But these people are ignorant of the law, but they are still held to their response to their conscience and doing by nature what is in the law as a law unto themselves. I hope that makes sense. Which show the work of the law written in their hearts. Like I said, the conscience. Their conscience, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. In the day when God shall judge the secrets of men by Jesus Christ according to my gospel. Behold, thou art called a Jew, and restest in the law, and makest thy boast of God, and knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law. And art confident that thou thyself art a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which hast the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law. Therefore, which teachest another, teachest thou now thyself? Thou therefore, I can actually play this. Never mind. Thou therefore, which teachest another, teachest not thyself? Thou that preachest a man should not steal, dost thou steal? Thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, dost thou commit adultery? Thou that abhorrest idols, dost thou commit sacrilege? Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonorest thou God, for the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you. As it is written, for circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keepeth the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision. For if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? Now, I know he's saying circumcision here, but I think what is being understood by the reader, circumcision is the covenant, right? When you are circumcised, you are covenanting yourself to the law. And so what he's saying is, like, if you're making the covenant, you stick by the covenant. And if you're holding your righteousness through that covenant, then your righteousness must be maintained by keeping all of the covenant it being the law. But if those who are not in the covenant keep the covenant, does not him not being in the covenant become counted as being in the covenant, even though he's not physically entered the covenant? I don't know how that's how I'm going to say that. And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision dost transgress the law. So does it matter if you're circumcised and you've entered in the covenant? That doesn't save you if you're breaking the law. If you're breaking the covenant, you getting jumped in doesn't count if you're not sticking with it. For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. Based. Let's see. It literally says the law is incorrect. The scribes are liars. No, it doesn't. Where are you getting that, Spectre? So the written law is wrong. No, it's not. Where are you getting that? Did you get that from what I just read? Because that's not what it said. Jeremiah 8:8 directly says that the law is wrong. How do ye say ye are wise, and the Lord and the law of the Lord is with us? Lo, certainly in vain he made it. The pen of the scribes is in vain. The word vain doesn't mean the word wrong. The word vain, we can look it up in the original, but the word vain means essentially to be used wrong. It's like, thou shalt not take the Lord God, thy God's name in vain. That isn't saying the Lord God's name is wrong. It's using the Lord's name wrong. So he's saying the pens of the scribes are in vain. They are using it wrong. Nice try, though. So we're doing hour and 30-minute streams now. I don't know, man. It's just I have fun doing these arguing. All these atheists come in when I post this atheist stuff in the thumbnail, and it's like, it's fun. I have fun. I'm having a little too much fun, I think. Imagine the size of the crane that dropped baby dinosaurs. Not sure how I feel about dragons, but I have to admit it's a bit weird that pretty much every culture has a dragon. Yeah, if you look at obviously the obvious one is the Chinese zodiac. The Chinese, you've got snake, dog, rabbit, horse, pig. Everything is just a common everyday animal. And then dragon. Is this a list of legendary creatures? Is the rabbit a legendary creature? No, these are all. And then you go to the castle in Cambodia. Have you guys seen this? Well, let me share. There's a 12th century castle in Cambodia with the Stegosaurus on it. Cambodian Temple Stegosaurus. You can go if you want to go to Cambodia. And once again, right, there's a Stegosaurus on this relief. The rest of the animals, oh, there's one there. There's an ox. Let's see the other animals. There's like oxes, monkeys. There's just a bunch of different animals on this temple in Cambodia. Here's the temple. Whee! Maybe that's not. Yeah, that is the temple. And then a Stegosaurus. Out of the blue, a Stegosaurus. That's just one. There's a whole bunch of these, all over the world. I think the Ica stones. Is it Ica? The Ica stones. These were found in Peru. These are very much. Oh yeah, that's another one. People try to deny that these are real. People try to deny anything that's real. That shows stuff that goes against their belief in evolution. By that monster, the Greek monsters, or by that logic, the Greek monsters are true. If the Greek monsters were ubiquitous around the planet, like everyone said that there were, what's the dog with 3 heads? Cerberus. Like if ancient Aboriginals had in Australia had stories about the chimera, the Cerberus, right? And then you go up to Alaska, and the Inuit had stories about the Cerberus. You'd have to start thinking, why do all of these different cultures all around the planet know about the Cerberus? PC Joseph, does anyone here believe in dragons due to biblical mythology? Well, they don't. There's dragons, and then there's specific things like the behemoth. Do you know the description of the behemoth? Actually, you know what's a better description? Let's go here. Marco Polo describes a dragon. Marco Polo in the 12th century. Let's go to the actual. You can actually go. I'm gonna get it from one of these sites, and I get it if you. I generally never go to like apologetic sites for stuff because people who I'm arguing with will always say that's from a Christian website. It's obviously blah blah blah. I get that, so I generally don't do this. But you can go to Gutenberg and download Marco Polo's writings, and it is in there. So this isn't something fake. Let me find it. Here are found snakes and huge serpents 10 paces in length and 10 spans in girth. That is 50 feet long and 100 inches in girth. At the forepart, near the head, they have 2 short legs, each with 3 claws, as well as eyes larger than a loaf and very glaring. The jaws are wide enough to swallow a man. The teeth are large and sharp, and their whole appearance is so formidable that neither man nor any kind of animal can approach them without terror. Others are of smaller size, being about 6 or 5 paces long, maybe velociraptors. Polo continued his chapter by explaining the local citizens hunted. Yeah. I don't need to get into all that, but the you know what he just described? An Allosaurus. Oh, they're 50 feet long. Uh, 100 inches around the waist, short 4 legs, 4 arms, 3 claws with, or 3 finger, whatever, with claws like that of a tiger, a mouth big enough to swallow a man, and teeth very large and glaring, and the eyes the size of it's called a 4-penny loaf. So probably a dinner roll, something like that. Or a loaf of bread, I don't know. Small loaf of bread. A 4-penny loaf, I would assume, is not a very large loaf of bread. I've never been able to discover what the exact size of a 4-penny loaf is. A velociraptor was only about 2 feet tall and only lived in what is now the continental US. Okay, so maybe it wasn't a velociraptor. Allosaurus is a lepidosaur, and it had feathers and it wasn't water-dwelling. That's bullcrap. None of these freaking creatures had feathers. This myth. I'm sure you'll see lots of drawings of them with feathers, but there's no freaking evidence that they had feathers. This whole the evolution of feathers thing is the dumbest thing ever devised by evolution. Mike, why don't you just debate Alex? I don't know. Oh, he wouldn't stoop down to debating me. Dude, I've got like 1,000 subs. He's got like 1.2 million. Are you kidding? I'm not even a fly on his Allosaurus. Yeah, the whole feathers. You see how intricate feathers are? What is the benefit of a feather popping up on a cold-blooded creature? Keep in mind, feathers keep warm-blooded birds warm, right? What is the evolutionary benefit to feathers on a cold-blooded animal? Not only that, how is a wing going to evolve? How are you going to evolve from having these forelimbs to like short feathers? Oh yeah, they're good for catching. This is one of their stupid arguments. The feathers evolved and it helped them catch insects. These look like creatures that are hunting insects to you. Dinosaurs are not cold-blooded. Oh, they're not? They're reptiles, right? Are reptiles not cold-blooded? Is this a new thing? And reptiles grow every year. So it kind of explains why there are such giant dinosaurs prior to the flood. Because these things were living for like hundreds and hundreds of years. Imagine 1,000-year-old boa constrictor. How big do you think that thing would get? Actually, let's ask Croc how much do boa constrictors grow each year? After these years, it's not giving me a perfect explanation. Well, they might add a foot or less per year after the initial growth spurt. All right, so call it 6 inches just to cut it in half and be very conservative. Imagine a 600-foot long boa constrictor. Yeah, 1,000-year boa constrictor. That'd be crazy. Who taught you dinosaurs are reptiles or warm-blooded? Or warm-blooded or cold-blooded? I just remember that from way back. Remember, I'm 53. I don't know how old you are, but this is the stuff I think I remember in school. Dinosaurs are anapsids. Reptile is a polyphyletic term and is therefore not used anymore in formal science. Interesting. Uh, dur, 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 dur. Oh, okay. So in the 70s, scientists like Robert T. Baker proposed that dinosaurs might have been more active and possibly warm-blooded, given their skeletal structure. So yeah, I was in the school in the 70s. So, in 2022, a study by Wyman looked at oxygen intake in dinosaur fossils, suggesting ornithischians were more likely cold-blooded, while sauropods were warm-blooded. All right, so these are suggestions and theories. So again, going back to your claiming you know everything is true because of whatever you heard from your latest guy. I'm going to stick with they're cold-blooded because look at them. They're freaking giant reptiles. But you can hold on to your modern theories that they're warm-blooded, but stating it as an absolute fact is, again, this is just one of those things that you guys do. Yes, you'll find scientists rarely use definitive truth claims, as all claims are open to retesting. All right, so then why are you guys saying? Why are you saying they're cold-blooded? I'm like, because they're freaking, look at them. They're giant reptiles. No, but they're giant reptiles. How can you look at a dinosaur and not think it's reptilian? So then the question becomes, how do they become? I mean, okay, we know for a fact that birds are warm-blooded, all right? We know for a fact that reptiles are cold-blooded. How do you go from reptile to... I don't say anything is absolute fact. All right, well, then don't... because reptile is nucleate. Bloody hell. Anyways, what are we at? Oh, yeah, we are at an hour and a half. So I'm going to wrap this up. This has been a whole lot of fun. Subbed. Thank you. It hurts because it's true. Yeah, if you are new here and you enjoy this wacky kind of, like I said, I'm not a pastor, priest, rabbi. I'm not a theologian. I'm not some, highly educated, whatever. I have done a lot of, reading of the Bible and researching into this kind of stuff. It doesn't make me an expert. And I just try to use common sense and rational thought and look at the facts. And look, if you can show me that a fact is wrong, then good. I'd rather be corrected and then be right than what. But don't sit here and claim your theory is a fact and that my theory is wrong. It's like, you can disagree with my theory with your theory. That's fine. I'll fully accept that and I'll embrace that. We might all be wrong. God bless us. I know that's true. But let's just be charitable about it on every side. Lucifer Almighty, evolution is a fact. Your theory has no supporting evidence. Okay, whatever you say. All the dinosaurs I see are skeletal. What about alligators? Alligators are dinosaurs. Does it have to be a dinosaur because it died out? Is that the difference? But you openly advocate for not embarrassing other people's viewpoints. I'm not perfect either, Rain. Evolution is true. Also, we can't really know the truth. Irony. They don't look particularly like reptiles nor birds to me because I don't know what those skeletons look like. Well, they've done... Actually, they got a skin impression from a duck-billed, I think it was a duck-billed dinosaur, which actually did match up to the illustrations that they used in the ichthyostones of the skin of the duckbill. So how the people that drew the duckbill on the ichthyostones knew what the skin of these skeletons look like is that's another question, isn't it? Alligators are not considered dinosaurs. You know what I've often wondered, and I haven't really done the research on this, so I'm probably way off a base, right? But if you just looked at like a rhinoceros skeleton, say rhinoceros were completely extinct, and you looked at the skeleton of a rhino, would you be like, oh, it's another dinosaur? Which, yes, I realize would go against my cold-blooded assertion. Skeleton. But I just look at the skeleton on this thing, and I'm like, I could see, well, maybe not. It's just such a crazy skeleton. You ever seen the skeleton of a rhinoceros? I'm just going to show it because it's crazy. Like the spines and the freaking, those things are cool. That's just beyond cool. That's so dope. Anyways, I'm being weird. This is pretty embarrassing to think that fire-breathing dragons like Leviathan roam the earth. That is simply mythological fiction. Do fire-breathing bugs strike you as mythological too? You know, there's fire-breathing bugs, right? If you accept skin impressions of some dinosaurs, why not feather impressions of others? Because I don't think the feather impressions are... I mean, the feather impressions on like Archaeopteryx are real, but I know there's been a lot of fraudulent feather impressions because, again, as I said the other day, finding new species is so rare, and it's very, very lucrative if you can actually find a new species. And China, I don't know if it's Chinese as in the government or the people, probably a mix of both because they're fascists. They are known for producing fake species in order to make money. And Archaeopteryx is not a dinosaur. Spectre, that's very wrong. Archaeopteryx is a bird. You can go look that up wherever you find your scientific information. It was classified as a bird a long time ago. Fire-breathing bugs. Yeah. You don't know about that? Hold on. Let me look it up. Fire-breathing bug. The bombardier beetle. Bombardier beetles are beetles in the 500 species, notable for the defense mechanism which gives them their name. When disturbed, they gosh dang it. It ended. I don't want to go to Wikipedia. This is how bombardier beetles fire explosives from their butts. Okay, they light their farts on fire. But it is just to say that there are in nature we have creatures that have chemical chambers that can fire out what is essentially fire. So in nature it exists already, so that it might exist in some very rare form of a creature. Yeah, I know, corpse grinder. It shoots chemicals that reacts and cause burns. That's not fire. Hold on, actually, let me see what the actual screen. I was trying to end this screen, but now I'm interested. There isn't a direct mention of fire-breathing dragon in religious scriptures like the Bible. Flames stream from its mouth, sparks of fire shoot out. Oh, that's the Leviathan from the nostrils and boiling pot over burning reeds. Its breath sets coals ablaze, and flames dart from its mouth. Okay, so it's not breathing fire, but it does expel darts of flame. So that could be a chemical combination that ignites. I don't think you understand what it means to say Archaeopteryx is a bird. It is saying that it is a dinosaur that is a direct ancestor of birds. It is still consistent with Archaeopteryx is both. Archaeopteryx is a bird. Archaeopteryx is a bird, and the mechanism by which a feather could evolve is hysterical. The argument that feathers evolved to catch bugs, when you're talking about freaking dinosaurs catching bugs, you think that's how they survived? That gave them some great advantage. So you're going to slow down the actions of your actual hands, of your paws, in order, and then somehow doing this led to, oh gosh, look, I can jump and fly. Oh god, it's just such a dumb argument on its face. But again, when you're locked into this has to be, therefore we have to find excuses how it is. That's the mentality of the evolutionist. I had dino nuggets the other night. Love them. If it took evolution to create dino nuggets, then still getting over that you really believe in fire-breathing sea monsters. Again, not fire-breathing. But I believe the bombardier beetle gives a good indication that there could be a methodology, or not a method, but a chemical reaction. You are not understanding the position. I think I am. I think you disagree with my assertion. So because it's logically possible. Yeah, it's logically possible. I don't know. I wouldn't know the mechanism because I wasn't there, but I know that there are chemicals, and that obviously if you can have bugs that can produce chemicals that do such things, why not? Chemical burns and sparks that shoot flames are not the same. All right, but chemical burns and sparks that shoot right. He's not fire breathing. And maybe that's not what you're saying. But I don't discount the possibility. It's not like, the dragon in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, but Mike Ramsey's, he don't dance at the party. I need to get off of this freaking thing. I got stuff to do. I'm trying to launch an NFT collection. I could explain it to you better with less delay. If the Bible is so silly, why do all the atheists strawman it so much? That's a good question. I'm saying you're putting up a straw man, whether intentional or not. What, with the evolution of the feather? I don't think so. I feel like this is not a good place to leave it, because I don't hold the position for the reasons you're saying. Oh, well, again, it's like Alex O'Connor. I don't doubt your veracity. I don't think even he is conscious of his motivation. You don't have to be conscious of your motivation to still hold that motivation, right? Like, it may be some deep-seated thing in Alex that it's like, I can't accept these things even though they're right in front of my face. And I think I'm being very logical about it, but then somebody else can look at it like me and say, you're not being logical about it at all. But it is all very, motivation is very subjective. The evolution of feather requires what to happen? Oh, just the arguments I've seen in the past about like the feathers that grew out on the forelimbs helped, because a mutation has to have a benefit that allows the mutated daughter species to do better than the parent species. So somehow these little tiny proto feathers, barbs, I don't know how that benefited anything, but then the Barbie proto feathers sprouted barbs on their sides. I don't know how that would benefit a creature. And ultimately, you have these nets growing out of your freaking hands, I guess. Well, I don't know. To what end? To catch bugs, they say. It's the dumbest thing. So again, it's this, like, how do you get here from there when every mutation has to give enough added benefit to the creature, and you don't just sprout these perfectly designed intricate feathers and start flying. That's not how that works. You have to get from a tiny little spike, which they call a proto feather, to an elegantly designed, instrument that, first of all, is hollow, and then it allows you to fly. This is the most amazing mechanical design possibly among, creatures. Have you ever pulled a feather apart and look at it microscopically? It is an interwoven, like each feather interweaves like this with the feather next to it on a practically microscopic level. It's like, it's a freaking amazing genius design that allows the birds to fly. And then all of a sudden, that doesn't just sprout up. And then you would have to have these perfectly interwoven feathers before you had a creature that now has hollow bones that allows this creature to take flight, and also convert to being warm-blooded. It's all of these little steps, and all of this has to be done, again, through these microevolutionary changes, little tiny changes that somehow or another are so beneficial that they subsume the rest of the gene pool for that species, at least in some particular locale. And this has to happen over and 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 over, thousands, probably tens of thousands of times, to get from something like a velociraptor to any kind of a bird, and then try to get to a peacock from there. This is why I say there's not enough time. That's why they come up with stuff like punctuated equilibrium. Why they come up with hopeful monster theory. Saint DeLuca says atheism is everything came from nothing. You could say it's a straw man, Rain, but it's more of just a boiling down to the brass tacks. Everything came from nothing, without meaning, without purpose, without direction. It's all random, and somehow the feather, all meanwhile going against the second law of thermodynamics, which is a physical law, not a theory. Everything left alone tends from order to disorder, not the other way around. Anyways, that's about it. I got to wrap this stream up. I got to figure out how to launch this NFT collection. Hey, no, I guess that's about it. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff, and we'll see you on the next exciting episode. Oh yeah. Drop that Discord link, ladies. Drop that Discord link. It might be in the description. I'm not 100% sure. But come on over to the Discord if you want to continue the conversation. There's lots of people of every religious and political, well, not political, probably. Every religious and irreligious and a-religious point of view in the cross-examinations channel. So come on in and join the conversation. God bless you all. We'll see you on the next exciting episode of Cross-Examinations. Bye.
Back in line, you dog! On your feet! Get them going!